Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we have a great panel with Fred Lokken of TMCC and Victor Joecks, opinion writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Meantime, here in Nevada, we appear to have one of the highest inflation rates in the country.
Soaring prices for gas, food, housing, and construction supplies continue to hammer Nevadans.
Senator Catherine Cortez Masto was the deciding vote for President Biden's multi-trillion-dollar spending spree, sending inflation through the roof and raising gas and grocery prices over 8% on hardworking Nevadans. Tell Senator Cortez Masto to stop voting for reckless spending and start fighting inflation.
This 4th of July weekend, join the Nevada State Railroad Museum, Carson City, for the Great Western Steam Up, a celebration of the Virginia and Truckee Railroad's 150th birthday. Festivities include a narrated pageant of steam locomotion, train rides, food and libations, live music, and more. For tickets and more information, visit GreatWesternSteamUp.com.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have an all-pundit show going today with Fred Lokken, professor of political science at Truckee Meadows Community College, and Victor Joecks, who is the opinion writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Pleasure to have you both here, gentlemen.
Great to be here.
Okay, so Victor, I got to start with you. As we are taping this, you just put out a column here in the last 24 hours where you were talking about Hillary Clinton potentially taking another run at the presidency. Your thoughts on why that could happen?
Well, it starts with Biden. I mean, his approval ratings are a problem, but looking forward to 2024, his age is a problem too. And now a lot of Republicans will say, well, yeah, that was obvious 2 years ago. But now even Democrats are starting to say, guys, he's going to be 86 if he's reelected at the end of his term. And we don't think voters are going to go for that. And then you start looking at the Democrats' bench, and it's just not very good. Kamala Harris is the obvious choice, but she's less popular than Biden. Bernie Sanders is still a socialist. Gavin Newsom was recalled in California. He obviously didn't go through, but was put on the ballot. And who does that leave? I think Hillary Clinton would be a natural candidate if someone like Michelle Obama or Oprah don't throw their hat in the ring.
I think Oprah is quite content with her life the way it is. Fred, your response?
Oh, trying to digest that notion. She would have the same age issue. This is insane in the case of both parties, that so much of the leadership has now aged into their late 70s and 80s. And even the Republican Party, I think, has some depth problems if it's not Donald Trump in terms of who they would come up with. But it's not outside the realm of possibility because everybody knows that she has always wanted it. It's not a logical thing to me, but I'm not surprised that she might actually consider doing something like that.
Pete Buttigieg.
An absolute darling, but with, and I think a real favorite of Joe Biden's. And I think he's been one of the standouts in the administration. But that sort of lack of experience, I mean, he's governed in a city, he's serving in a state, a federal department, but he's still very young, relatively speaking, and his gay status would be a factor for voters. I'm sorry to say that, but there would be people who would reject him for that reason.
You know, Victor, it's interesting. They reran a piece on him on 60 Minutes in the past couple of weeks. And he's young, he's a good-looking guy. And I think the last president that really had the best training was George H.W. Bush, because he had done everything before he became president, including being vice president. Does the transportation secretary have a chance? You know, because there's going to be obviously a lot of jostling on the Democratic side.
Yeah, no, I think Buttigieg has a lot of problems just in terms of the experience issue. You know, he is the transportation secretary, and we're having a major supply chain crisis. You know, that was the excuse for inflation a few months ago, and you know, he hasn't gotten it under control. And so, you know, I just think you look and say, really, this is the guy that we're gonna throw up there, and expect the American people, you know, to think that that person's qualified and ready to go. I just think he's got some experience challenges.
All right, so Fred, James Carville said famously years ago, "It's the economy, stupid." Isn't that going to be the same story in the midterms and potentially for the presidential cycle, you know, 3 years from now?
It should be. You know, pocketbook issues have historically been a very major driving force for voters, but we have such a convoluted election this time that I'm going to suggest that may not be the major factor. We have a Supreme Court decision coming out this week that could be radically changing to the fall campaign if they go ahead with what we think is going to be an overturning of Roe versus Wade. That is going to be a voter motivator on the Democratic side to levels that the Republicans have not seen before. And that could play out very heavily in the November election and be the deciding factor in close elections. You also have the reality that, you know, it always happens whoever's on the watch. This current situation, there's plenty of blame to go for both parties. For outlandish spending, over $7 trillion of debt in 4 years in the Trump administration, did not help this situation at all. And forcing the election or the economy to stay hot, which the Trump administration did, certainly guaranteed that whatever recession comes along is going to be that much worse.
Well,
but that aside, voters do not see that, and that, you know, they're going to blame the Democrats for this economy.
Well, and the Biden administration has not been slow to continue to pump money in as well. I mean, I look at both administrations and see the same thing.
Well, the first gesture was bipartisan. I mean, it was a mistake to put that much money in the hands of the people. We didn't realize that because they sat on it and then all tried to spend it at once. The other reality is that we always seem to pretend that this is a United States problem. Canada has a 7.7% inflation rate. Europe is hit by inflation. They're all dealing with supply chain. It's not the United States, and not a single country has fixed this problem because it's intractable. If China keeps shutting down every 5 weeks, you have a supply chain problem. It is an indictment of the flat earth economy, and I think that we're going to be looking at a lot more nationalism in our economies going forward, but it's not going to fix it. We're going to be dealing with this for some time. It's a problem fostered by many administrations over neglect over decades, and it's just going to rule us, I think, going forward.
Okay, Victor, there's a whole basket for you to dive into.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is I have to respectfully disagree when it comes to the importance of the economy. I think that is going to be the top issue, the driving factor in the election, and I just don't think abortion, the debate's going to have much legs. You know, the enthusiasm for it. I think the leaked opinion came out, a few weeks ago, and it's already dropping, and most people are concerned now about inflation. And so, yes, there's certainly a subset of voters who are going to care about it on both sides, but the challenge for Democrats is that, you know, in places like Nevada and California, nothing is going to change on the ground. And so the places where abortion is going to be illegal, voters already want that. And so I just think at the end of the day, you know, as passionately as some people, myself included, feel about the pro-life abortion debate, most voters care about their pocketbook. They care about the prices at the pump. And those things are very easy to pin it on Democrats, especially the prices at the pump, where their agenda for the last several years has been shut down the oil and gas industry and transition to $60,000 electric vehicles. And this is what happens when you disincentivize capital investment in oil and gas. The gas prices go up, and Democrats own that. And you know, every gas station is basically making an in-kind contribution to Republican candidates by advertising the price of gas And I think at the end of the day, that's going to be the dominant issue in the campaign.
And certainly the oil companies are making record profits. This is a contrived situation as well. As responsible organizations that coming out of the pandemic, they had shut down production. I think this is their desire to get the money lost during the pandemic. And the economy is a mixed bag in this state. Yes, inflation but I would also point to the issue that we have almost record low unemployment. You have an amazingly diversified economy in Northern Nevada, as Sam's programs let us know. Las Vegas is back. There are a lot of people that are doing very well right now, and there are people hurting, but there are a lot of people that are quite excited about this economy as well. They've frankly never had it better, and so that's why I say it's a mixed bag going into November. The Republicans want it to be as dire and awful as possible, but then it's going to be their economy come January. They still don't control the presidency at the national level. I don't think they have inroads in the state races. The Democrats are pretty strongly entrenched here. And so I just don't know that this election is going to be all that important when it's all settled, and you're going to have individual races to be probably happy about, but no great wave is coming this fall.
Okay, Victor, 2014 repeated?
I don't think it's going to be quite that. Certainly just because 2014, there was no one at the top of the ticket driving turnout for the Democrats. But I do think it's going to be a strong Republican year. I think some of the weaker Republican statewide candidates are going to have challenges. I think Marchand's going to have a real struggle in the Secretary of State race. But I think in the federal races, you're going to see Republicans run very well. And then I would, expect candidates like Lombardo to run, 2 to 3 points behind Waxalt in the governor's race, just because, as Fred says, there's not as direct of a tie with the state officials to the inflation. But you're going to have Republicans very motivated to turn out for those federal races, and I expect a lot of them to vote straight down the ballot. So I think he's right in terms of I think it's very possible that at least a couple of Democrats statewide survive, but I do think you're going to see some strong Republican turnout.
All right, so let's hit the governor's race when we're talking about statewide here. Is the anger of parents, which was so strong during the lockdown, going to play into the governor's race as a major issue? Do moms have long memories and are willing to come out and vote that, or is that going to be a non-issue by the time we get to the election?
I think it stands a chance of being a non-issue because normalcy is returning. And I don't think any state government, Republican or Democrat, would seriously consider any shutdown going forward. I mean, we are to a point of,
Well,
major,
I'm talking about families that are upset that their kids, were stuck at home, that their kids didn't go to graduation, that their kids didn't go to the dance, they didn't go and play sports, and had all kinds of mental issues, as we know, we've discussed on the program. Will that anger last at least into the midterms, if not beyond?
And my point was, I don't think the anger lasts. It's getting farther and farther into the past. But if they had to, sort of remind them of it by having to go back to a shutdown or something, I think that would have devastating consequences in the November election. They will avoid a shutdown at all costs.
Victor?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. I don't think it's going to be the dominant issue. I think Lombardo is going to need to run an aggressive campaign. I think he's going to need to run a campaign to win, not just not to lose. And part of that is going to be finding those subsets of Nevadans who were upset by the actions that Sisolak took. And I think parents are certainly part of that. The people who were affected by the unemployment situation that Sisolak wasn't able to resolve for months and months on end. I think those are voters that he needs to court and court aggressively, because I don't think this is just a shoe-in for Lombardo. I think it's going to be a very competitive race.
Well, certainly from a financial point of view, it's going to be a very competitive race. Let's take a break. We'll come back with our two guests here right after this timeout.
Meantime, here in Nevada, we appear to have one of the highest inflation rates in the country.
Soaring prices for gas, food, housing, and construction supplies continue to hammer Nevadans.
Senator Catherine Cortez Masto was the deciding vote for President Biden's multi-trillion-dollar spending spree, sending inflation through the roof and raising gas and grocery prices over 8% on hardworking Nevadans. Tell Senator Cortez Masto to stop voting for reckless spending and start fighting inflation.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrizi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Victor Joecks. He's the opinion writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and Fred Lokken, professor of political science at Truckee Meadows Community College. So Victor, Dina Titus was on record as saying that I'm not going to use the language, but it was, the worst district now that she had in District 1, which was always a totally safe seat for Democrats. She had a very interesting opponent who headed up the Bernie Sanders campaign, but in the end, there was no question about who won that race.
Yeah, that was a really impressive performance from Representative Titus. It was so interesting because Sanders came out towards the end of early voting and endorsed her opponent, Amy Vilela, and it was just an odd endorsement looking back, because you think he's going to come in late, maybe it's going to be close, he's going to push her over to the top, and no, Titus wins going away, and so a lot of strength for her. It is going to be a tough race in a tough year, but she certainly has a good chance.
All right, so Fred, looking at those numbers, I believe that she won by like 80%.
She was 70%. She had 70% of the vote. In the others, the other Democrats did 80%. So she had a little hit.
Okay, so bottom line is, does she have any trouble in the general?
I don't think so. The district is designed to honestly favor the Democrat candidate.
Just not as well as it was before.
Exactly, that was her point. And the reality is that she's been, I think, an effective representative. I mean, the whole issue for a House member is to be responsive to your district. And I think that the vote suggests that there's a satisfaction with their service level to the district, which is a very important role that they play. I mean, Amadei has been recognized for his job in that role. They all take that role very, very seriously. And otherwise, I think it was just unexpected. Perhaps the communication level of the Democratic Party could have been better to let her know what they were doing and why they were doing it. I think she was caught off guard, but I think she found her balance in this process. And I agree. I think all of the races should and will be competitive this fall. But her experience with the district and her basis of support in the district should bode well for her.
April Becker, Victor, killed in this primary race. It looks like she's potentially a real challenger to Susie Lee in what has been really the most swing district in District 3.
Yeah, I would put Becker as the favorite. I think she's a strong candidate. Obviously all of those districts do favor Democrats, just in terms of the raw numbers. But, if I can just jump back to CD1, I just respectfully have to disagree with Fred here. I think Titus is in, significant trouble. And part of it is that her district has changed. It's not just that there's more Republicans, it's just that the people that she was representing before, a bunch of them are no longer in her district. And now she's representing Henderson and Boulder City. which are going to turn out well because of everything going on at the top of the ticket. And she's taken a lot of positions that, you wouldn't take in an 8-point Democrat district, but you would take when, it's a 25-point Democrat district. And so, I think Titus is going to have a tough time. I do think Lee is going to have the hardest time. April Becker, I think, is the strongest Republican candidate in those 3 Southern Nevada House races. And I expect her to win that race.
Fred, you want to respond?
Well, I fully understand Victor's views on this. The issue, though, there are several issues bubbling. First, in Clark, the Republican Party now is the 3rd largest registration point. The appeal to the voters in the nonpartisan is going to be critical for all of these races, and I think that the Democrats are in a better position to appeal to the nonpartisans than the Republicans. So I think the decider in most of these races will be the nonpartisans who show up. Most of them are disaffected Republicans who are all branded rhinos when they left the party, and because they did leave the party, and I think that's going to be the balancing factor that's going to allow a number of these Democrats to survive challenges, because although the Republican vote should be more motivated than the Democrats, you also have the question of the Reed machine after Reed. But in Clark County, with Culinary and others, it looks like they're keeping the registrations up. They've got the door-to-door machine in place, something the Republicans have not been able to put together in Clark County to nearly an effective level.
And that's a great question, or a great point to raise, Victor, which is the Republicans still have not gotten anywhere close to the level of organization that the Democrats have had, especially in Southern Nevada.
Yeah, I mean, obviously what Reed has done, what he did over the course of decades was impressive. But, the problem is that voters, are interested in the price of gas. They're interested in the price of groceries. And I think those issues break very strongly for Republicans. And so, even the best political campaigns, the best run political campaigns, you're moving, 2 to 3 percentage points. You're not able to stop just a ginormous wave when people go to the gas station and say, my word, I'm paying $5.50 a gallon. Under the Republicans, it was $2.70. And there's been a host of stories, and just a couple in the last few weeks, one from the Washington Post, one from CNN, where they followed basically people going into Latino neighborhoods. And what they're finding, these canvassers with the culinary unions and other, Democrat groups, is people are saying, hey, we usually vote for Democrats, but things aren't going well. And this time we're voting for Republicans. And you don't need a massive shift there. Republicans don't need to win Hispanic voters by 20 points. They just need to not lose it by 30 or 40 points. And I think that is definitely in play, because Democrats have full control. Voters, I think, correctly put the lion's share of the blame for inflation on Democrat policies. And I think a number of them are going to either not vote or they're going to switch to Republicans this fall.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Tolls development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Fred Lokken, Professor of Political Science at Truckee Meadows Community College, and Victor Joecks, who's the opinion writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. At least one of them. I shouldn't say the opinion writer. There's a team there. Fred, the amount of money that is already pouring into the state, it started the minute the primary was over, and it's unbelievable amounts. Your thoughts on this?
It will be another record-breaking year. The Senate race will attract that. I think depending upon what the ballot issues turn out to be, I see outside money coming in for that. Nevadan voters, though, are getting sick and tired of this. This doesn't happen in most of the other states, and I think Nevadans are waking up to that. So I don't think it's as effective as it used to be, but we're going to see a lot of it.
Okay, Victor, you got the last 20 seconds here.
Yeah, I think Fred's right. There's definitely diminishing returns going on here. But if you own a TV station, it's a good few months for you. But I think you are going to see the diminishing returns when it comes to advertising.
All right, and that's where we got to leave it. Gentlemen, thank you very much for a spirited discussion. I really appreciate it, and we'll be right back.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years.
Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal gas station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
The Do It Right guys at Nevada Heating have one mission. Your air conditioner breaks down today. We fix it today. Why sweat for days while your air is down? When Nevada Heating can get the job done today, and you can get cool again. For nearly 50 years, locally owned Nevada Heating has been getting the job done right. Call today at 323-5585 or see us online at nevadaheating.com.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com. You can also check our archive going back to 2005 on our website. Again, nevadanewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.